Playing against a computer can be a hard job for an ordinary player like me, but sometimes you can improve your style, and you have to try something else when you play the computer. Now we shall see a game I played against a strong player. The game is interesting because I play the black pieces and I play a seldom played opening, and maybe you can improve your game also if you play this opening. It's called Englund's gambit. White starts with d2 to d4, queen pawn opening, and usually black plays knight to f6 or d7 to d5, but now we play Englund's gambit. Now white can capture a pawn, but it will cost him some development. He takes the pawn, and we attack the pawn, and he defends the pawn. And then we play queen to e7. If he plays bishop to f4, he gets a check on b4, and afterwards we can capture on b2. He doesn't want that, so he plays queen to d5 and defends the pawn. But now it comes, we play f6, and he takes the pawn, and we take back. But we can see now that he is a little behind in development. He places his queen on c4, and everything looks quite nice. He has a white diagonal down to f7, and he's thinking about playing the knight to d5 and get some attack there. But now he's a little baffled, I think, to see this move. He doesn't want to capture because it will develop the bishop on f8, and so instead he wants to develop. But now comes d5, and he doesn't want to change the queens, and he threatens on c7 with the queen. But now the knight goes to b4 and threatens to capture on c2 with check, and he loses rook. He gives a check, and it is defended with bishop on e7. And what will he do now? He has to defend c2. Well, he can see that maybe he will lose a pawn, but he plays the knight to d4 and defends on c2 with the knight. Now comes a little surprise for him. Queen takes knight on d4, and if he takes the queen, he will have a check with the knight on c2, and the knight will capture back and take the queen. So he finds out that he can take on c7 and at the same time defend his pawn on c2. It looks very nice for him. But now the queen closes his ability to move around with his queen, and at the same time it puts pressure on c2, and he has to take the queen. But then the bishop comes into play, and we can see now that there are 3 black officers on the board, and he has won a couple of pawns. And he's quite satisfied, I think, with it. Now he plays knight to b3 to threaten the bishop. If knight takes on c2, he will move his queen, his king, and then he threatens two pieces. Knight takes anyway on c2, and he moves the queen, the king, and then he is in for another surprise. Bishop captures on f2. This king is being exposed, and this will cost him a defeat after all. He takes the knight, of course, and now we are about even in material, but he is much behind in development. Now comes the knight, the bishop, with a check, and he can't play d2 to d4 because the bishop will take it. So he has no pieces to put between the king and the bishop. He moves the king, and immediately comes the rook with threats on c2, and he cannot move the king away because there's a bishop on f2. So he tries this, and to his surprise he gets a check, and now he goes the only way he can go if he doesn't want to go on the board and have another check, and then he is exposed to discover check here. So he moves inside there, and he gets a check once more, and he goes out there and he gets a check once more. So what now? To proceed with the attack, a good advice is to proceed with the development, to have as many pieces in the attack as possible, and therefore we move the king to castles. And he immediately puts out his rook to to have some relief and to exchange the attacking pieces. But that's alright, he can exchange it, and the next rook comes out. Now he has to move once more. And we take his ability to get away with his pieces. And now he makes a final mistake. Now it threatens checkmate on with the rook on c1. He has to do something, but it's not many things he can do. So he puts the bishop to defend him, and it is taken. And now he can see that if he takes the bishop, if he takes the knight, then the rook will take the pawn, and he'll be checkmated in the next move with rook to c1. So he can't even take the knight. He moves, and the knight goes back, and there's nothing to do for him. He'll be checkmated on c1. And there it is, checkmate on c1. So maybe you should try Englund's gambit on this very solid opening white plays d2 to d4. Well, give him a surprise once in a while.